Good morning, this is Kelly from Appalachian Memory Keepers, and today we have a very special treat for you. See this old cabin right here? It is potentially, the oldest cabin in Wilkes County, built before 1850. We're going to meet the owner of it, and he's going to tell us all about its history. Let's go. Good morning, Johnny. How are you today?
Good morning, fine, thank you.
Thank you for inviting us to your property.
Sure.
This is an amazing little cabin. What can you tell me about it?
My great grandfather, Elisha Cox, Civil War veteran, moved from Beaver Creek over here around 1848. And we don't know if he built the cabin or if it was already built, but we think it was already built.
Wow.
And he raised his family here. He had 2 boys and 3 girls. One of the girls is my grandmother. The 2 boys, James Walter Cox and Thomas F. Cox, and I've got Thomas's wooden leg in here I'll show you.
Do you really? How did he lose it?
They called it, he injured it and it got infection. They called it white infection. I don't know what that is.
Probably some kind of gangrene or something.
Yeah, and they took his leg off up next to his hip.
Wow.
Which I've offered to loan it to a fella, but
he didn't want to borrow it?
No, he didn't want to borrow. He passed away in 1939, and I don't remember. My sister's 3 years older. She did. I was born in 37.
Wow. What can you tell me about the construction of this cabin? What are the logs? Do you know the type of wood?
They're poplar.
They're poplar logs.
And I think in 1927, my cousin that owned it, Tom's daughter, they had a metal roof put on it, which saved it.
Yes, absolutely.
The old shingles had.
Were they cedar shake shingles or some kind of wood shingle?
I think they were oak.
Oak shingles?
And there's up the Siffords Branch Road up on the steep hill, they had the apple orchard there. And when my cousin passed, her son, I'd been trying to buy the cabin, and he was going to sell the place. And he come down one day and said, "If you want the cabin, come and get it."
Wow.
I said, "How much?" He said, "It's free to you."
Wow.
So me and my son took it apart log by log and numbered them and reassembled it down here.
How long did that take you?
I don't know, for a long time.
Like a year or?
No, it didn't take a year. It took several months.
Huh.
And of course the floor had rotted out, so I had to put a new floor in it. And the upstairs had gone all the way across, and I just made it halfway so you could lay up there and see the fireplace.
Oh. And how far away was, you said it was up on Siffords Branch, how far away is that?
It's less than half a mile up the road.
Okay, and did you just transport the logs down one by one in your truck bed, or?
Yeah, and surprisingly, they were light. One person could handle them. They're
That's
so old.
poplar too. That's pretty light wood.
And some of them still have the bark, you can see.
Wow.
But
they're huge logs.
They are. It's 1, 2, 3, about 4 or 5 logs high, I think. I'm sure there's a major undertaking to put up in them green. But they had an orchard, an apple orchard. And his son that stayed on, the guy with the wooden leg, they dried apples all summer and would take them to Wilkesboro in the fall to buy their supplies. And his brother, Walt Cox's son, Zolly, drove the horse and wagon with the apples. And he said they were going across the Reddish River Bridge and saw the first car they'd ever seen. And scared the horse so bad it ran back and broke the wagon tongue.
Oh no! What year was that?
Oh gosh, I don't
Late
know.
20s maybe?
Probably a little before,
Wow.
because the son was born in the late 1890s.
Okay.
But
So they had a pretty good apple orchard.
yeah, yeah, I remember getting apples there, but
Do you?
of course it's grown over now.
Yeah. Wow.
But there's a lot of interesting tales I'll get into.
Well, let's
about
go
it.
on inside and see what you got.
This is a leg of my great Uncle Thomas Cox. He had a injury, and I guess it was infection. They called it white swelling, and his leg was amputated when he was a young man.
Wow. So hold it up. Yeah, show it. It's bends and it's amazing, amazing shape. So it's got suspenders on it that would, I guess, go up and around his shoulders.
Yeah.
How old do you think that is?
Well, he died in 1939, and he had the leg as a young man.
Uh-huh.
So,
You never heard a family story about where it came from.
no.
Wow.
Of course, I'm going to ask you what's on this stuff is, see
Sure.
how smart
I'm not very smart, so. All right, what do you got now?
That's a whale oil lamp, like they used in ships.
Wow. How did a ship lantern that burns whale oil ever get to Wilkes County?
I don't know.
Is that original to the family?
It came through the family,
Yeah. Wow.
but I don't know much history. And this is a ship bottle. Had a stopper. You know, ships rolled,
Right.
and bottles would fall, so this is made to roll with the ship.
I wonder if somebody in the family was once a merchantman or something, worked on ships.
Well, now, Elisha Cox's wife, my grandma Arilla, her brother Samuel Hall was in the Confederate Navy in the Civil War.
Really? So
And I wonder if that's where that came from.
Wow.
Here's a blackjack.
Ah, handy item.
Yeah, it's got lead in it.
It does. It's very weighted. Oh, and it snaps too. I would not want to get popped with that.
There's some old Civil War money.
Hold that, yeah, right there with the light. So that's from the state of Mississippi. Huh. So do you think your relative brought that back from Gettysburg, or is it?
I don't know. And
Now, do you know which side he fought for?
all of my relatives fought for the South.
That was an easy answer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know which units they were in?
Not without looking back in my books.
Gotcha.
I've got Elisha's Civil War records up at the house.
Okay.
I ordered them through the National Archives in Washington, and I got a monument for him, and they did the Civil War reenactment
Right.
for him. And for Thomas David Hall, his wife's brother, my great-great uncle. And on the Shepherd, that was on the Cox side. On the Shepherd side, my great-grandfather fought for the Civil War, and he was injured. On my mom's side, her grandpa, my grandpa Luther, fought at Gettysburg, and he was wounded, but it didn't kill him. And I remember him. He died in 1946.
Wow, he lived a long time.
He was 102.
Wow.
And I remember his birthday, we had a big blowout. He used to tell some scary tales about the war.
Would he talk about it? A lot of veterans won't talk about it, but he would.
Yeah, he did. I know he said they were in Maryland, down in the hollow, and said we fought like cats and dogs with the Yanks, and said the night they'd build up a fire and they didn't fight, and the Yanks would holler down and say, "Hey, Rebs, have you got any tobacco?" And they'd swap tobacco for corn.
Wow.
The South didn't have much food.
Yeah, they were starving, so they were.
And then the next morning they'd fight again.
Gosh. Was he in Pickett's charge or?
Yes, he was.
He was.
And he fought at Manassas also.
Wow.
And Seven Pines.
Well, he's lucky to have made it home.
Well, he got back. They lived in Deep Gap, the old home place is there. My cousin lives there. And somewhere between Wilkesboro and Deep Gap, Stoneman,
yep,
they stopped him and was about to take him prisoner, and he had papers that had released him, and they let him go.
Wow, he was lucky.
And he carried the mail from Wilkesboro to Boone on a horse.
Did he?
Then he was a postmaster at Deep Gap after that.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, he was a good one. This is a World War I McClellan saddle.
Where in the world did that come from, a World War I saddle?
That was my uncle's brother, Robert Jones.
So he served in World War I?
Yeah. And here's the bayonet that went with World War I.
Okay. Did he serve in France?
As a matter of fact, he did.
Yep. Wow.
And my mother's brother served in France. He left here and after the war, went to Montana, and he made saddles and pack saddles. He had a saddle shop, and he lived to be 102.
Wow. So 2 things I've gotten so far. 1, your family likes to serve in the military, and 2, you're long-lived.
Well, he's my mother's brother.
Uh-huh.
And my mother's mama lives to be 102.
Wow.
And my mother's sister lived to be 105.
What's the family secret?
I guess, I don't know.
Good, clean living? Or a lot of moonshine?
Some of both. Speaking of moonshine, there's my little still.
Okay, wow. Little baby still.
There's a worm.
Yep, the worm right there.
In it.
Yep.
Well, you can't see it.
Yep, I got it. Right there.
And
that's the smallest still I think I've ever seen.
Well, I believe I got a bigger one in here somewhere.
Is it still in operation?
That one's still
We can't
working.
say on camera,
Oh,
right?
right here's the big one.
Oh, okay. Let me bring the light over here. The big one there.
That is an oldie.
What's the history of that one?
One of my friends gave it to me. It was Frank Church gave it to me. He passed on.
Wow.
It came down through his family.
Now, Wilkes County has a reputation for moonshine capital of the world.
Well, it does.
Did your family contribute anything to that?
A little bit.
A little bit to that reputation?
Yeah.
Most families did.
Yeah. Paul is Tom Adkins.
Tom Adkins. So yeah, that's your great-great-grandpa and grandma.
Right.
Okay.
Tom Adkins. He was a young man, and he came down with something like the flu or bloody flux and was seriously ill. And there was a young man in the community studying to be a doctor, and he had a friend with him that was studying to be a doctor, and my grandma called him to come and see Tom, and they brought him a little envelope of white powder, and they all had a drink of liquor, and they left, and the guy walked down the road with them. They lived up Pumpkin Run, and the guy that studied to be a doctor said, when she gives him that powder tonight, he'll wake up in hell. And of course, she gave him the powder, not knowing, and it killed it. He died.
What was it?
I don't know. They buried him just up the road a piece here on a hill. And the next day after the funeral, his son, my great uncle Mark Adkins, was walking up the road, and he glanced over where the grave was at, and his daddy was sitting propped up under a tree. This doctor had dug him up to make a skeleton. They needed a skeleton to study. They cooked the meat off of the bones.
What?
Made a skeleton, and my grandmother, uneducated, told them she's going to indict them. They said, if you do, we'll swear you hit him in the head with a hammer. So everybody, the old people in the community talked about it. A lot of people talked to me about it, and we knew it was true. Well, this guy that studied to be a doctor in his cohort went to the first medical school at Chapel Hill when it first opened. They were in the first class. My daughter called and verified that, and this book right here, you might have heard of it. Outhouse Spiders
And tin tub bass.
and Tin Tub Bass. This guy was with National Public Radio. He had an ad in the paper wanting old stories, and me and my daughter decided we'd go to Winston and tell them this story. And he said it was the most unusual one they'd had, and they called me back a week or so later and said they had filed that with the National Archives in Washington, and it would be on National Public Radio.
Wow.
But,
so did you get to hear it on NPR?
no, I didn't get to hear it, but right here's the story that I wrote.
Right there. The Skeleton of Tom Adkins by John Shepard. Wow.
So I'm kind of...
What's this? The story has been handed down and told for years in the area. So back in the 1890s. Wow.
And
what a story. What a travesty. Did the doctor ever come to justice or anything?
they got scared that they were going to get in trouble, and they went to Texas. And one of them stayed in Texas, and this one moved. He wanted to come back to Wilkes, but he was free to, so he landed over in Avery County and is buried over close to where the Banner Elk.
Right.
Anyway, my family has lived in this area since the 1800s. You might have saw the sign on my tree, 100-year farm. This has been in my family over 100 years. 1886, I believe.
What kind of farm? Was it a little bit of everything like
Well,
this
it's
now?
been divided up. They mostly had cattle and field crops.
Wow.
And our neighbor had an old horse. They called him Old Prince. He'd get out and take running fits, and they were 7 or 8 families. We'd get together and walk to school together, and the old lady hollered and said, the horse is out. And it came running, and we jumped off the road into the branch under the bridge. But
wow.
anyway, it was something else. I guess I had a good childhood. Believe it or not, that little stove has an oven.
Does it? Wow.
We'll have a school class.
I'm going to be at the end back of the room, I think.
You know what that is.
Something
Everybody says a candle holder, so I'll save you breath.
Yeah, something to do with wool.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
That is a hog scraper.
Hogs, after you boil them.
Yeah, you scrape. This big one is used around the head, and this around the eyes, the little one.
Oh my gosh. Let me see that. So this is
That's the old piece.
that is a hog scraper. So you use this part around where?
around the head, the big parts.
The big part around the head?
And the little around the eyes and
wow.
so on.
How old do you think that is?
Gosh, I don't know.
A hog scraper. I bet it's scraped a lot of hogs, hadn't it?
I'd say.
You got some unusual things in here.
Well, I've got this right here that I'm kind of proud of.
That looks like a cannonball.
It is. It's, I'm hoping, now this is a guess, my first cousin lives up above the little white church, about 2 miles up the road. Uh-huh. Him and my uncle, his dad, were up on the ridge cutting stove wood, and he stepped on that thing. It was in the leaves, and he didn't know what it was, and his daddy said, "Oh, it's an old cannonball." And Sherman, or what's his name, came down through here.
Yep.
From Boone and burned the courthouses. I don't know if they fought down through here or not, but I don't know how that ball would have got.
Yeah, how it would have gotten out there in the woods. Wow.
But anyway, that's where that came from. This is, of course, an old coffee mill.
Yeah.
And I think there's another one over there, a different.
There sure is, right there.
Make, and here's an old sausage grinder.
Wow.
That is an old one.
That is an old one.
It opens up and you load it.
Load in the sausage and then squeeze it out into a...
And of course this is an old bed chamber.
Yep. Probably been used a few times.
Yep.
Chamber pot.
And of course you know what that is. 5-gallon liquor barrel.
Huh!
They weren't
Hold that up. Let me see that again. So tell me about that.
It wasn't very popular. They were hard to handle.
Yeah.
The ones that was popular, I'll show you.
So a 5-gallon
The ones that were popular were the round ones.
So why were they more popular?
Well, carrying the liquor out of the mountain, you could wire this with another one and put one on, you could carry 4.
Like a yoke.
Yeah, 2. One over your back and front on each side.
Uh-huh.
You couldn't that other one.
The other one, the square one, didn't work as well?
No.
Wow.
And they're heavier. They had that thick wood on them.
Yep.
And I'll show you something else. Now you're going to know what this is. I know you're a smart man.
Go around your neck and hang 2.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
Carry 2 buckets of water.
Yep. Wow. Would you call it a yoke or?
It is a human yoke.
A human yoke.
Yep.
Did you ever carry water on that?
No, I done it the hard way.
Oh.
And I'll tell you about this little trunk, since it's family. The little one right here. I've got it full of. Oh, here's my cousin was a Marine in World War II. This was his flag, and it's 48 stars.
Oh, wow. Before Hawaii and Alaska.
Yeah.
I knew that.
The little, this little trunk, homemade trunk, was my great uncle, John Shepherd.
Okay. Did he make it himself, do you think?
Yep. And he was raised about 3/4 of a mile down the road here. And in the curve of the creek, up the holler, he had a still, which everybody had back then.
Sure.
And this old man, I believe his name was Lons Johnson, told his woman he was going to John Shepherd's to get some liquor, and if he didn't get it, he was going to kill him.
Lord have mercy.
So he come this way, and my uncle was on a horse leaving the still side, and he told him, he said, "You're drunk. I'm not selling you any liquor. He grabbed a fence post and struck my uncle. And my uncle shot him.
Wow.
Pulled out the pistol and shot him.
Yeah.
And the shot wouldn't have killed him, but he bled to death.
Oh.
So the sheriff come to get my uncle, and they arrested him and put him in the Wilkes County jail. And his son, I think he's about 12-year-old, went to court to the trial, and he slipped my uncle a pistol.
Wow.
And my uncle held up the court, run out of the courthouse, jumped on the back of a wagon going by with a load of fodder, and rode and came up through here and slept in the haystack just up the road here. The next morning, he caught a ride to Mountain City, caught a freight train or a train headed to Idaho.
Good.
Well, he stayed out there and raised his family, and he moved back to Wilkes County in 1952, I believe. Had a beer joint down Old Boone Trail, the Little Red Hen, they called it.
That sounds nefarious.
But I was always afraid of that dude. He had the bluest eyes, and they'd look a hole through you.
Ice cold, huh?
Yeah.
And
but
so how was he able to come back? They didn't press charges, or?
that woman that lived with the guy he shot here, the first one, said that he had left home with the intention of killing John and robbing him. And they ruled it self-defense. And
wow.
He came back and died here, buried at our church.
And what was his name again?
John Shepherd.
John Shepherd, wow.
There's one thing in here I don't know what it is, so I'm going to let you tell me.
Okay, I'll be glad to. Well, that's simple. You don't know what that is?
No, I don't.
Oh. I'm always of the belief that you never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So I'm going to tell you exactly what that is. That's called the spade bit.
Is it? Spade bit.
No, I don't know.
Well, you know, I thought, and everybody I've asked, nobody knows, I thought maybe it's sharp that they cling the horse's hoof when they're shoeing the horse.
Oh.
Now, I don't know.
Be worth it to ask a farrier. I was thinking, no, it didn't. It almost looks like it would turn, huh? Yeah, it's definitely got a chisel edge on it. If anybody that is watching this knows what this thing is, please comment below. We would love to know.
We would. Of course, you know what this is.
Butter maker. Butter mold, I mean.
Yeah, and here's a square one.
Yep. Did your mother make homemade butter?
Yeah. I had the privilege of churning till my arm about fell off.
Whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah.
If you wanted to eat, you churned.
Yep.
So at one time, this was a true second floor. It went all the way
across.
All the way across here, but you wanted to leave it open.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, the stairs. Were those the original stairs there that went up? You made those?
Yeah.
Did they have a ladder, or did they actually have
stairs? It was a ladder,
stairs?
and the two brothers and the sisters, some of them slept up there.
Okay. What about the shoes over your head right there?
Baby shoes.
Yeah, little baby boots. Are those family?
Yeah, and them old boots is my grandma Welch that lived to be 102. Those are hers.
Grandma Welch. Gosh.
This is my guest book.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, there's 20-some states and 12 foreign countries have signed that book. There's been a couple of articles written about the cabin in magazines, but I've got a guy from Israel,
wow,
a guy from Moscow, El Salvador, Cuba, Dominican, Canada.
That's amazing.
Colombia.
All people that you've shown this cabin to.
Yeah. I was the person, you're welcome to look at him.
I hope you enjoyed learning about the Cox Cabin today. It was filled with an amazing amount of unusual items that I'd never seen. Some great history there. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. If you have an old house or structure that you'd like to tell us about and we could film there, don't hesitate to get in touch with us through private message, email, our website, yada, yada, yada. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.